Hi everyone and welcome along. Today we're going to do a really nice loose watercolour landscape featuring some lovely spring flowers. So grab your paints and let's get started. So this piece is going to be done in a series of stages. The first one being we're going to wet this 6 by 8 inch piece of watercolour paper with my mop brush just lightly, and I've taped it down to prevent warping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sort of faint, warm background. So I've got buff titanium and yellow ochre, and I'm just creating that sort of horizon line there. And I'm going to take a tiny bit of green gold and just bring that down into the area below, coming in from the sides, but staying really nice and light and pale. And then in the distance we'll have a bit of a forest scene. All the while this paper is slowly drying, which is fine because I want the paint to not travel quite as far now. So I've got Moonglow, bit of Payne's grey, and a bit of sap green. I think we'll get a bit more Moonglow. I really want the colour, Payne's grey, I beg your pardon. I really want the colour to sort of mute down. And this time, I'm actually going to take quite a small brush, a size 2, and I just want to create a distant sense of forest trees. Now the way I'm doing that is very, very simply a vertical line with a little scribble, and slowly but surely those will build up along the horizon. So that's dried really nicely, and now I've got some masking fluid, and I've got a rather sort of tufty brush that hasn't got a fine point or a nice fine point at all. It's a really good sort of dappling masking fluid brush, and all I want to do is just create a few little specks of masking fluid here and there. I want it to be fairly random, where we're going to have flowers that are going to be, well, I would say white, but of course we've put a wash down already, which is quite a nice thing to do sometimes with masking fluid, is to be able to maintain your lightest colour on the page there in the masking fluid. So we're going to just dab this colour all around. I might even put some, we're going to have flowers sort of coming up quite high, so we will dab some masking fluid there. You could have put the masking fluid on first, but I don't know, I just thought it would be quite fun to first get a sense of our landscape and then put in our masking fluid, because these colours are so nice and light. So we need to let this dry, and then we will start having some fun with a loose watercolour flower meadow. We have so many tutorials of precise and very sort of detailed flower painting that I think it's very, very good for us all, myself included, to have a go at these looser approaches sometimes. And I just feel like with spring in the air and things are starting to grow, the gardens and the meadows and the forest floors are starting to look like splashes of colour have been thrown all about in a watercolour loose style. So this just feels really appropriate for now. Right then, we are going to start to bring in colour into this piece. Now, I am going to try and sort of go for a spring-like palette of oranges, reds, yellows, some pinky purples, and some sort of cornflower blue, and maybe some sort of bluebell kind of indigo purpley tones. I'm going to begin with cadmium yellow, and my sort of approach here is to just build up a lovely sort of riot of colour, and I think you just have to go for it. Sometimes you just have to go for it. Remember, we've got our lovely bit of masking fluid on here, and I've got a size 4 brush. I'll probably mixture between size 2, size 0, but yeah, I am going to start by placing in a sort of dabbed cluster of cadmium yellow, and then just cleaning off my brush in the water and starting to sort of spread it about. But the key thing here is that I am being quite nimble and light with the brush. You can see lots of little bits of unpainted space here, and then to sort of mess around with the sort of styles you're going to paint in. So I'm going to do some different kind of brush strokes here. I'm almost imagining I've got some California poppies going on, and maybe some more off in the distance. I might sort of have some tall flowers knocking about. But everything is fairly sort of loose and not very clearly defined. Not so detailed. And then I will also include some little bits of green here and there, especially with the more slender brush. Even with your California poppies or little bits here and there. And of course I've got some right down out of camera. This is Mayan Blue Genuine. It's hard to see. It's this one here, by Daniel Smith. It's a colour I really like and I never use in my tutorials because it's always out of sight. But we do want to include a bit of darkness, especially sort of down in the corners. I mean, I say that and I'm about to sort of take some yellow and maybe place in a poppy or two as well. But do think about how we're going to frame this. We're going to draw the colours in. I've got some Imperial Purple here. I want to do a nice sort of little scattering of some little purple flower. In terms of your colours sort of getting muddy or messy in between one another, I'm sort of going in and out, trying to avoid too much of a sort of interaction between some of the colours, unless I want them to, like for now, just dropping in a little bit of pink. But some colours will obviously get quite muddy, so you just want to be careful with not sort of hanging around with your brush too much. But I am going to place in a little bit of this deeper purple down here, and then some of this deep bluey green, and it could just be in nice stems, sort of grasses, or get in there with a bit of a wash as well. But essentially we're going to just build up lots of lovely colour. Try and sort of keep it light, fairly sort of nondescript. Don't forget about green. That's probably a very important thing to say because we just get very sort of carried away with all the colours. But green obviously is a very important colour. We have got our background, we've got the masking fluid there as well. But yeah, just have some fun with it. And we'll just keep going. So here we are, nearly at the end, making sure I've got enough green in there. I keep forgetting. And also the other thing to remember is to make sure that your masking fluid areas are suitably and sufficiently painted over, just to make sure that when you peel off the masking fluid you've actually got a satisfying reveal, because otherwise the peel off the masking fluid and it'll be like, well, I haven't painted anything over the top anyway. So yeah, but I just think this is such a cheerful piece, and I'm really excited about the finished result. I've been painting more freely and loosely recently for a few projects, and while I can't, I'll be sharing the outcome of those projects with you very soon. I have to be annoyingly cryptic just for the moment, but it's informed my painting so much and really helped me sort of loosen up, and I think the biggest thing with the biggest challenge sometimes with painting like this is you're like, I don't really know how it's going to look at the end. But actually, even when we're painting detailed, I don't think any of us really feel 100% sort of confident of what we're going to have as the finished result. So I think hold on to that thought when you're painting like this, and actually life is a bit easier when you're painting loosely, because the beauty of expressive painting is that it will still look cool even if you're not entirely sure what it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is a field of flowers, but it is lovely and loose and we're not sort of picking out specific flowers. And yeah, just having a lovely time. And that distant forest we painted in at the beginning is obviously sort of just creeping in, but it's not obviously there. But when we peel off the masking fluid and suddenly sort of see this piece a little bit more crisply, we'll really appreciate the faint, distant detail going on, because it will just contribute to the piece as a whole. So I'm very close to the finish line of the initial sort of washes for the meadow. Just keep going and don't forget about the green. So I keep saying that to myself. And the other thing is there may be one or two flowers you fancy putting a little bit more detail in with, and others that you just want to add more blobs on. Maybe it's I don't want to really sort of go in too much with detail as such, but maybe if I just add a little bit of red to my cadmium orange, I might want to just place in a little bit on some of my California poppies. But don't sort of get too focused or fixated on adding too much detail. But I'm going to let this all dry 100%, and then we will peel off the masking fluid. Okay, so I've started peeling off the masking fluid. It's quite hard to find it when you've got loads of colour, but you can just sort of, I'm using an eraser to seek it out, because that helps and prevents you getting lots of colour all over your fingers. And yeah, we'll just go through, find all the masking fluid, brush it off, and then we can decide what to do with the unpainted space, because some of it I think just looks quite nice as unpainted space, and some it might be nice to actually create a little, maybe like a daisy or some kind of flower where we can make the most of this this lightness. I think particularly down here it'll look quite cool if we paint in. So yeah, just use your eraser to just sort of get a sense. Also, you could lightly sort of cast your hand over the piece, and if there's a little rubbery resistance to, there we go, your hand, then you'll be able to find out if there's a little bit of masking fluid, which I keep finding. Okay, so the masking fluid is all rubbed out, and what I'm going to do, so I'm going to take some Moonglow and my very small brush, 4/10 here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to place in just this little bit of Moonglow Shadow on the shapes, which is going to be the first step in creating something from these white spaces. And you could create daisies, you could create other white flowers, or you could just sort of leave them with this little bit of shade on them. You could turn that shade into a bit more of a texture if you wanted, sort of dabbling it like that. And of course you could place in stems underneath them as well. But yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is just help define this unpainted space like that. I personally really like the idea of creating a sort of daisy shape, even if they're not sort of officially looking like daisies all that much. But I just think it works with the piece as a whole. And you can see I'm just sort of dropping in these little fried eggs. As I go. Yeah, it's rather fun, and the good thing is if you miss some out, then it just helps with the general sort of randomness of it all. And then one or two, I give a few stems too. I'm not going to seal that many. I think it's at this point that you've got to really enjoy the process of your painting and not be racing to the end. It's about finding all these nice little extras and yeah, and taking joy in it. So the last stage is to peel the tape off. So here we go. Oh, that's very satisfying. And there we have a lovely vibrant and colourful meadow with some nice little sort of delicate details in there as well. So thanks so much for watching. Do have a go. Don't forget to tag us on Instagram at Winton Paper Co to let us see your work, and I share as many of them as I can, and I love seeing them. Don't forget, of course, to like and comment. Let me know how you got on with that one. And if you never want to miss another video, then hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and we will see you again next time. Bye!